So welcome, everyone. I'm glad you're all here.
Hi.
Yeah, our friends are coming in.
Everybody's coming in. Hi, everybody. So good to see you.
It's gonna be a great conversation.
It is. I'm excited. Excellent. Yes, we are officially live on Facebook.
Thank you, Heather.
Oh my gosh, you're so welcome. That was a little stressful. I'm not going to lie. Like, how am I going to make this work?
Well, what would it be without a little bit of anxiety? It's kind of fun.
We got it done. I mean, the outcome is all that matters. And we are live on Facebook. So there we go. So
we have our friends here. So I want to go ahead and say that QuickBooks Commerce has been a bit of a mystery to me. I haven't dove into it until just recently. So in about October, I really got my hands in it and started to dive around, check it out. And I've been able to work with Keith and ask Keith some questions. So we have Keith that will be joining us today. Thank you. And helping us with a demo and talking about some of the features of QuickBooks Commerce and specifically the QuickBooks Commerce accounting. Heather, you want to do an introduction of yourself?
I do. My name is Heather Satterley. I am a CPA and I am the Director of Education and Media at Woodard. And I'm really excited to be with all of you today. So thanks for joining us.
Well, I'm glad you're here. And my name is Liz Scott, and I'm like many of you, a practitioner, and I've got a firm with small business clients, and I specifically use QuickBooks Online, which means that the apps in the ecosystem is something that I'm constantly paying attention to. And I enjoy connecting apps. I listen to a lot of the feedback that my community gives me, and then I go back to those apps and talk to them about what are some of the areas that they might be able to improve, or maybe even some training offering different types of customer service support. It's been a very, very fun journey. Keith, we are lucky to have you with us today. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for inviting me to join today. My name's Keith Crowther, product manager on the QuickBooks team. So I've been with QuickBooks for the past couple years. Previously, I came across actually from the TradeGecko acquisition, which was around this time in 2020. So spent really the last 5 years in this space, building out solutions from inventory and order management, and then more on kind of focused on the commerce accounting space right now, and happy to kind of share where we're at with the product today.
That's quite a great journey. You know, I worked with clients with TradeGecko, and that was a great product. So whenever it was acquired by QuickBooks, I've just been curious what all's been happening over there. So it's awesome that you've transitioned into that journey. I'm sure that you know quite a bit about what's being worked on and the features and the functionality of both TradeGecko and then also with QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks e-commerce.
Yeah, it's been a journey for sure. So I have lots of good historical context on what TradeGecko did well and how we're transitioning all of that to the QuickBooks world.
That's fantastic. I want to say thank you to our Champagne level sponsor for this year. We are starting to conclude this year. I can't believe that it's almost been 12 months with Ignition. And we've had lots of fun things that we've done with Ignition. We've created templates for our accounting community to be able to say, if you want to do an engagement and you want to use templates for cleanup or ongoing reoccurring engagements for those clients, then Heather and I created some really cool templates for Ignition, and they have been willing to share those out with everyone.
No, that was really
QuickBooks.
Yeah, we've also done, I mean, we've done events, we've seen them a bunch. So we finally had our first like real conference year since the pandemic. And they actually joined us, Jenny Moore for Ignition joined us at our Appy Camp in September, and that was amazing. So they've been fantastic partners for 2022.
I agree, and listened to a lot of the feedback that we've given and been very, very supportive.
Absolutely.
So we're going to be talking about QuickBooks Commerce and the accounting functionality and why do we need it? What are the features there? I think that that's one of the things that's been exciting about this upcoming episode is to be able to share. Some people have not gotten started inside of QuickBooks Commerce. So how do you move around? How do you use some of the features? What all is available to you? And that is exactly what we're going to cover today.
Exciting.
It is. With QuickBooks Commerce, you know, a lot of this has came from a need of being able to have online sales inside of QuickBooks to be able to see that activity. Anytime that you have any type of point of sale, data needs to be pulled over into QuickBooks, and it's not easy, it's tricky. There used to be a ton of add-ins that you would have to plug in to your any type of web store or point of sale or commerce type of site. And now, thankfully, it's starting to get more condensed because everybody's really wanting to move to online. So payment methods are starting to become more uniform. That's one of those areas that I would love to see more progress. The deposits are always a challenge whenever you have deposits that are outside of your sales channel.
Yeah, the deposits are definitely the biggest pain point with our e-commerce clients is just making sure that everything ties out, that all the fees are accounted for properly. And so definitely that's been a huge pain point and the biggest pain point, honestly, that I've heard from all accounting professionals.
Gosh, fees aren't even on here. And you're right. That's one of those areas that I think is often hidden inside of the sales channels. They don't really make it easy for us to be able to see what are all the various fees. And I know whenever I'm dealing with different industries, there's even industry fees.
There are, absolutely. And I think what's really interesting, having, you know, worked a bit in this space, is that different clients want to see different metrics. So there's some clients that are not really focused on the fees and they don't mind a simple solution to that. But then there's others that really want to dig down, especially the ones that are multi-channel, really want to dig down and see where are those fees coming in based on the different sales channels and the marketplaces that they're participating in.
Totally. I totally agree. So we're going to drink a little early.
Yay.
Yeah,
Like
right.
that.
Yep. And we've got.
I'm going to crack open a beer here. Just
I
kidding.
love that. Oh my gosh, I had the best beer this weekend. It was a coffee Guinness.
Oh, was it?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's amazing.
Oh, I'm a big Guinness
This looks
fan.
amazing.
And I love coffee, so man, it was a win-win. And this is very fall as well.
That looks so good. That looks so
Very fall.
so good. It's very fall, and I am going to drink this. I actually have 2 12-ounce bottles of ginger beer in my fridge. Don't have any pears, but I'm going to get some. I am going to get some. I think the only thing I need are the pears and the nectar.
Oh my
I
gosh.
have everything else.
The ginger beer, I love it. I just like
Me
that.
too. Uh-huh.
So for everyone who's with us, you can download these slides off of our site probably tomorrow. But because Keith is with us, I'm going to say we don't have to go through all of these slides. We're going to actually have Keith do a demo. He's been gracious enough to say that he'll walk us around the features. So Keith, are you able to present? Do you have screen share ability?
Yeah, let me bring up my screen here and happy to walk everyone through.
Awesome. We're seeing your screen.
Okay, perfect. So I'll kind of start and preface just with a bit of navigation in where you can find the commerce features within QBO. So this has been rolled out as of really starting to roll it out beginning of August. You would have seen this feature be available in your clients' accounts. And then went across all US QBO customers now have this available to them. So you'll see a commerce left nav item. And again, the navigation in this example here may look a little bit different. So let me switch over to the classic view. But you'll see the Commerce tab on the left-hand side. And if you had any clients previously using the former TradeGecko product as a bundled offering, they will see a slightly different experience, because for them, they would have been purchasing an add-on product. I do want to clarify that this has changed, and this is where we've pivoted. Instead of it being an add-on product to a QBO subscription, these are features directly within QuickBooks Online. So when you're in QBO and you're in the Commerce tab, if you haven't connected a channel yet and you go to this tab, you will see a bit of a zero state page that tells you the features of what it is, why you should connect to a channel, and what channels are supported. And once you start connecting your sales channels, this is what the page will look like. So the page itself is really meant to show you the information when you start connecting these e-commerce channels. So we have integrations supported with Shopify and Amazon and eBay. Once you've connected a channel, you'll then see all the data populated here, the net revenue per channel, which channels are connected. So I have 3 Shopify stores, an eBay account, and an Amazon store. I have my orders per channel, and then I have top selling products. The 3 graphs here are really for the business owner in mind. These are graphs that you're going to be able to see when you're looking at, let's say, the orders per channel. This is going to match up directly with if they opened up this report inside of Shopify, Amazon, or eBay. Same with the top selling products. This is really read-only data that we're pulling in, so you can get some insight around what's selling, what's the best performing channel, and then you can filter by different date ranges and look at over the last couple months or the last year or the last 30 days. Outside of that, there's some other things here, handy shortcuts, tips and resources for knowledge-based articles and how to get started. But I'll bring everyone through the connection flow because it is very straightforward and very simple to do. So for the first time,
Keith, if I ask a couple of questions, because I want to make sure that everybody's kind of familiar. It's you said it just a minute ago that what QuickBooks Commerce does is more of this dashboard. And so instead of being a commerce channel itself, really what QuickBooks Commerce Accounting is doing is pulling in all of the sales channel data and creating a dashboard view for you to be able to go through and see that sales activity, be able to see those expenses that are related to it and payouts, but then also be able to pull reports and see activity.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is all centered around how we now connect to these third-party sales channels. So when you sell across Shopify, Amazon, or eBay, it's centralizing all of those so that for an omni-channel seller that has many different revenue streams, you have one central dashboard where you can see all that data.
Got it. And thank you for clarifying that, because I think that there's been a shift.
So it's not recording transactions anymore. It's just pulling the data into the dashboard. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah. So when you're looking at the overview page here, you can really think of this as non-posting transactions. This is not the recording of these transactions. When we look at something like the graph here, where it shows the revenue per channel or the orders per channel, it doesn't mean that I've actually posted these to my books yet. What this is showing me is that data at this point in time for what has actually been processed on Shopify, Amazon, or eBay. It doesn't necessarily mean that I have that corresponding deposit hit my bank account yet. And we'll go into how you add these transactions and how you review. But that's kind of the purpose of the dashboard, is that you have a little bit more of a real-time centralized view across all the channels that you sell on.
Thank you. Yeah, the centralized view, I think that's one of the biggest key benefits.
Yep. And I think you spoke to it earlier. I mean, a lot of these channels, they don't give a lot of great ways for people to understand what they're actually doing. And especially Amazon, they're a bit of a black box when it comes to all the different types of fees that they do charge. And you may have a certain amount of gross sales, but then actually understanding, okay, what does that net out to be? What is my actual revenue from this channel? And is it performing well, or do I have a lot of money that's being taken away in fees? Has been a tough thing for a lot of businesses.
It is a tough thing because, every single time that you're selling online, it's not free. There's lots of advertising, and each of those sales
Yeah.
channels has their own agenda and their own sales advertising. And so you're contributing towards that. I'll ask one more question, and then I'll let you get back to it. But Mary Ann was asking a question about the cost. Do you want to share the cost of QuickBooks Commerce accounting?
Yeah, great question. So as I was stating, this has now become a feature of QBO, and by that, it is included with all SKUs. The difference being is that for Simple Start customers, they only have the ability to connect one of their sales channels. Essentials has up to 3 connections they can create, and then Plus and Advanced, they have unlimited number of connections. And when we talk around a connection or a sales channel, that would be each of these on the right-hand side where you see I have the 3 Shopify stores and the eBay and Amazon. Each of those would be a connection or a channel. So this account here would have the 5 connections if we were looking at it that way. So again, Simple Start is 1, Essentials 3, and then Plus Advanced unlimited numbers.
We have a question that's been asked now 3 times. So
Okay.
I'm gonna interrupt real quick so that we can stop the suspense. Is this available in Canada?
Not yet, no. So this has only been rolled out in the US. Yeah, so we do have plans to eventually release it in the Canadian market. For anyone that deals with businesses in Canada, it becomes more challenging because most Canadians, they also deal in multi-currency. There's not too many businesses that don't also deal in USD, whether they accept, money that's coming in USD, or they sell on Amazon in the US as well as the Canadian marketplace. And there's some additional challenges that we haven't quite crossed yet with when you get a deposit in one amount, but you sell in a different amount. So you may sell in USD, but it gets deposited to your Canadian bank account. And then there's some differences in FX rates and what Amazon deposits versus what you would record as sales. But definitely on our roadmap to get into the Canadian market. And that's one of the next places that we're going to try and do a proof of concept on how we get in to work with Canadian sellers. And I see a couple other questions around multiple connections. So I just want to clarify as well, you can connect as many Shopify or eBay accounts as you want. Each individual Shopify store, as you can see here, I've labeled my stores. So this one's called QuickBooks-commerce.myShopify or QuickBooks-generic.myShopify. So each unique Shopify store I have connected here. And then for eBay and Amazon, we would go by both the region as well as you could have multiple eBay accounts for a lot of people that do set up multiple of the same marketplace.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then I'll go into the actual connection flow just to give everyone a brief understanding of what you do to actually connect one of these channels, because the connection flow itself is really meant to be very straightforward with what we've built out for today. This is meant for sellers who are looking for a very simple way to get their financial data into QuickBooks without having a complex setup of having to go through and do any mapping, go through and create products and dedupe what already may exist inside of QuickBooks. So the way that we've set this up, first thing that you're going to do is select a date range of how far back historically you want to bring in this data. Now, this date range, there has been lots of feedback on why this is defaulting to a year back. If I was doing Amazon or eBay, they have restrictions on how far back we can go and get historical data. So just to clarify for everyone, if it does come up with clients, the default date range for eBay and Amazon is 90 days. And that is more on the eBay and Amazon side to protect any personal identification data of customers. That's how long they keep it for. Shopify, you can go back to the beginning of time, but we default to 12 months. But at least for the marketplaces, there is some restrictions there. So you would select a date range of when you want to go back and bring in this historical data from. And then you would go through the actual connection flow itself. you would select the channel, and then it's going to ask you to sign in to eBay, Amazon, or Shopify, or whatever channel you are connecting. So as you go through that sign in flow, let me see here. I didn't do it. And sorry, there's actually you probably don't see it on your screen now. There's a pop-up window that's just having me sign into my eBay account right now for me.
Yeah, I totally appreciate you going live. I know it's always suspenseful and exciting.
Yeah.
But it's nice to see these steps so that way to get started on your own, have some familiarity.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's just one of those important things to understand that, I mean, it was really built in a way that it was easy for people to do. And a lot of, apps historically and a lot of third-party apps, from what we heard, is that you needed an expert to sit with you side by side and actually walk you through the steps. So when we looked at building this out, we looked at ways that it was really easy for people to know what they're doing. I will explain here what we're selecting. So there is one piece that we do need detail from any of the users, is the bank account. Now we need to know when eBay deposits funds, which bank do they deposit to currently? So that would be the bank that ideally is already connected to QuickBooks, or you would go through and add a new account. And then if you have fees that are paid out to eBay that are not deducted, and this would be like your subscription fee or additional fees if there's a negative balance, what account is used to pay back those fees? Sometimes people set up a credit card. Sometimes it's just a direct deposit that goes to the bank. So we do need to have that selection there for when the deposit comes in, and when there's a negative balance, where do we go and pull the money from? They go through those steps. And then in the background here, what we're actually doing is pulling in all of the data from eBay, going back to that date range. And we're also going and creating a number of different accounts. And I'll go through the account creation and where you can see these settings. But we go through and we create defaulted accounts on behalf of the user. So when we go in and we look at any of these accounts that have been created, sorry, I know I go quickly here. There's a setting option here I'll go to again. So for each of the channels, you have settings. So for each unique connection, you'll have a list of different settings. And the settings are things like what we just set up with which bank account is used. You have settings that have how you want your data to be brought into QuickBooks. So do you want everything automatically brought in and posted? Or do you want things that are brought in and sit in a staging table so you can review and add and confirm? And the manual process to add is very similar. If anyone's used the Square app, it's similar to the banking feed. You have an actual process to go and add and confirm and ensure there's not a duplicate transaction there. And it also allows you to undo or exclude if you already accounted for it. Or once you're set up, you can turn on this automatic sync, so you don't have that manual step to review. Everything gets automatically posted as they come in. Outside of that, the advanced settings here, I think are really important to show, because this has been probably the main question that everyone has asked is, I don't want to use the defaulted accounts. I have my own accounts that I set up for my clients. I have my own way of categorizing all of these. So we do allow you to change this at any point in time. So we create all of these accounts by default, but if you choose not to use the default, you already have accounts that are set up. You can deactivate these, or you can just change these here. So we have our selling fees. Right now, they're pointed to an account called channel selling fees. And maybe I want this going to a different account, so I could select that here, change where that's mapped to, and configure those. But this is kind of the breakdown. We take in all of the data from all of these channels. And then the main benefit that we're giving is we take, when you get a payout from a sales channel, we go and we break out that payout. So we put in what came in as sales revenue, shipping income, we break out discounts, and then we start to break out the different types of fees. And each of these third-party providers have different sets of fees. So for eBay, they have their selling fees, they have a subscription fee, they have advertising fees. Sometimes they just send other adjustments, and other adjustments is kind of the catch-all for just other times that there are positive and negative values that have come in. And sometimes there's a chargeback. And other times it may be that there's a fee they didn't account for, or it was the wrong amount they charged last payout period. So they'll go and they'll either get more money or maybe send money back to you. That goes in as other adjustments. And then we split out sales tax. Really important to note here, we're not getting into granular detailed sales tax by jurisdiction. This is a liability account that we put the whole amount of sales tax into, and you can change this as well of where it's pointing to, but it's not broken down by jurisdiction. It's just one account for all eBay collected sales tax. And for most states, eBay is remitting the sales tax anyways.
Before you hop on it here, I've got just a call out. I really like that I can have the option to map to different accounts here. One of the things that happened is automatically the creation of all of these accounts, from on the general ledger, but you can go in and you can change them. But what ended up happening is I had a client who had multiple Shopify accounts. And so I was able to see Shopify account number 1, Shopify account number 2, and I could have my shipping income posted to that either sales channel. I was able to have my selling fee posted to either sales channel. And that way I could track on a sales channel level what was happening and what were the specifics as far as the fees go. So I liked being able to map.
Yeah. And we did put everything into a parent-child relationship. So if you want to drill down, you can look at channel. If you don't care for that granularity, you can bring everything up because all of the fees have a parent account that's just called channel selling fees. And then it breaks down for each individual channel what the fees are.
Yep, that logic is smart.
And then it's a similar idea with the items and the customers. So again, I'll get more into what we're actually doing here. But for the commerce accounting feature where it is today, we're not getting into bringing every individual customer and every individual product into QuickBooks. We are creating everything summarized at a granular level. And the purpose for this is that it makes it very easy for people to get started, to bring in their data. And we are in the future allowing customers to bring in, if you want, every individual customer and product and that granular detail. But for now and where the product is today, it's really at a summarized level. And when we talk around summarized level, this is where the customer and the products come in. So for the product level, everything is just brought in as eBay sales item, eBay shipping, eBay discount. Customers, same thing. Everything's brought in as eBay customer. You're not getting into each individual person that has purchased from your eBay account. And this goes back to feedback that we heard over the years of there are a lot of sellers who don't want that granular detail inside of QuickBooks. Slows down reporting. It becomes hard to track from your real customers that you actually have, AR with and need to do invoicing with. So there's a bit of a mix, I would say, on both sides of people that want more granular and people that just looking for summarized. But where the product is today, everything's at this summarized level. Now, when we go back to the overview page, so we connect the channel, you can look at all the settings, map everything how you want it to look. And then we start bringing in all of this data. So all of the orders, refunds, and payouts get brought in from all of these different channels. And as we connect these, we're going to be bringing in the sales orders, but these are non-posting transactions. So the order itself, when I pull up this order from eBay, I'm looking at an order for $16.70. I will not find a sales receipt or an invoice that's matching $16.70 because we bring everything in at the summarized level. This here is really just to view at a read-only non-posting level so that you have confirmation that the order exists and it is there, or if you need to go in and actually confirm that these are all the orders in a particular payout. We have all of that detail.
And I think that it's great that we have the sales order view available to us. I can tell you the first time that I came over and I was checking this out myself, I wasn't sure, was this a sales order that had been posted into a sales receipt? But no, it's really, this is non-posting and it's a view. And so the sales order number actually matches up with the sales channel. And that way you could go back and you could track the details. So I like that I can see the details And I also like this is not posted automatically into QuickBooks.
Yeah, exactly. And when we get into the posting side of things, that's really based off of the payout that we get from the channel. So again, as orders are happening in these channels, you may have orders that come in. As they get paid, they get updated. You can see all that detail. Same with refunds, but really where the benefit comes in is the payout. And the payout itself is what would match the end deposit. So if we look at any of these payouts here and we pull them up, what we're going to find is all of the sales, the refunds, and the expenses that make up this deposit. So inside of my bank account, I'm going to find a deposit for $13.30. Now, what it's made up of is the $15 of sales, the $3 of the expense for the fee. So I need to make sure that I'm accounting for all 6 of these sales orders. I can view and look at the detail of each of these orders itself, but really what I'm going to end up doing is just create one sales receipt for the total amount of all the sales combined. And then I can look at the individual detail of all of the different fees. So these were all different selling fees that were charged for each of the orders. So I can see the breakdown of each fee. But when we go to actually post this transaction, we're going to go over to the banking tab. And inside of the app transactions, if anyone has used the PayPal or Square or Amazon Business, it follows a very similar flow to this, where you can see the transactions, you have a chance to review them. You can see the breakdown of this was the same payout I was just looking at. So it's the $13. And then I can see the breakdown of sales, shipping, tax, and selling fees. All of that looks good. I hit confirm. And at this point, I'm now going to have a corresponding transaction created here. So now I can see the sales receipt, the expense, and the end deposit, which is going to match what exists inside of my bank. So the sales receipt itself, even though there were 6 sales orders, there's going to be 1 sales receipt created. And the sales receipt itself, again, is just using those generic product line items. So Shopify sales, shipping, sales tax, everything's coming in. We're accurately accounting for the $15.55 in sales revenue. And then we have the expense, which is for all of the fees that were charged for all 6 of those orders. So they're all Shopify selling fees. We have the $225 recorded. And we put all of this into a clearing account. And the purpose of using a clearing account follows kind of similar to undeposited funds, but the purpose really is that you're splitting this out specific to that Shopify store. Here's all the money, and then you're moving that, and a deposit really is just acting as a transfer at this point. It moves the money automatically out of the clearing account and into the bank account. So I have $13.30. I go into my bank and I look for that same transaction, $13.30. I have the matching deposit. So all I have to do is confirm and review that match. So there isn't any work to enter the sales, enter the fees, record the refund if that was applicable. All of that will automatically happen. I would confirm the match, and that is the whole purpose of this, is that all of it comes in accurately, is getting categorized to the right type of account, and then you can confirm these matches.
And, I want to clarify a couple of things. So in this scenario, what we're using is a Shopify example, and the Shopify payment method that they're using is Shopify. So It's not like we're trying to match up Stripe or PayPal or some other type of payment method, because we can't see the details. So in that case, Shopify is unaware of what fees might have been charged in those different payment methods. So you wouldn't be able to have a match in this scenario. This is really specific to the sales channel payment method.
Yeah, that's correct. So specifically when we talk through Shopify, this would be supporting anything that is paid from Shopify. So Shopify payments, Shopify installments. If you're looking at external payment gateways, Sezzle, all of these different payment gateways that people can have, or PayPal, those still have to be accounted for, because as you stated, Shopify doesn't have the fee data. So they can tell us what was sold, but PayPal is ultimately going to tell us what was in the bank account, deduct the fees, any of the other amounts that are on these other third-party payment gateways. So it is definitely a point that we're going to work on in the future of how do we also tie in data that comes from third-party payment gateways, but the integration that's supported today is really just for Shopify payments and Shopify installments.
I'm so glad that that's on the roadmap. I love that you've got that awareness that it is a pain that we're all dealing with. And one of the things that whenever I'm talking to my clients, especially Shopify, it looks like maybe my client can get a better rate if they're going to authorize.net or whatever. But really, there's fees that Shopify charges you if you're using a third payment party processor.
Yep.
So ultimately, you end up being charged the same, if not more. So I really try to keep clients from using different payment methods instead of just the traditional Shopify payments.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, they basically don't charge an additional fee if you use Shopify payments. But there's, when we started looking at this, there's over 100 that we had come in as different payment gateways. So it does become really hard to then also figure out what are the top ones that people use. And there's always going to be others that are going to be coming out, new companies that are going to offer different ways. There's a lot of like installment plan gateways that come out now. So you'll see with like Afterpay and Sezzle, those are kind of I would say the popular ones that I've seen a lot of.
So I think that it would be great to explore what do people do in a scenario that they have a different payment method. What is the recommended workflow? Because in some cases, most of my clients are going to use Shopify payments, but they will sometimes use PayPal. That's also a preferred method. So what do you do in those cases?
Yeah, so for PayPal, there is PayPal direct integrations with QuickBooks, and the recommendation, PayPal is accounting for like 80% of what we've seen from Shopify as the second gateway. So for PayPal, we don't want to run into a scenario where there's data coming from PayPal directly and there's data coming from Shopify. So the recommendation is use the PayPal integration because they may be using PayPal for other expenses that are not just Shopify transactions. They may be paying bills through PayPal. So the recommendation is connect PayPal. You actually still get granular detail from the PayPal side of things. And that's where you would then have kind of this two different systems where long-term we want to make it that it feels like one, but you would have a PayPal integration bringing in Shopify PayPal along with PayPal other transactions and Shopify just for Shopify payments. If it's something like authorize.net or external, there's not really a great recommended workflow other than you have to manually account for these sales that are coming in from authorize.net. And whether that's just from the banking feed or you're using an external app elsewhere to connect authorize.net, we really don't have a solution for any of the other gateways other than you're having to manually account for them. One thing I will show you here when I was talking around the non-posting transactions, you will still see those sales that exist. So when we pull in the sale, we still pull in the payment gateway. And even for this, like cash, this is maybe a point of sale transaction that came in, it was cash. These transactions you won't find because this is non-posting. So unfortunately, if you have clients that have a lot of external payment gateways or they have a lot of manual transactions, those are still going to have to be manually accounted for. And again, it's going to be when cash actually hits the bank and they deposit it, that's how you're going to have to manually account for those transactions. Or authorize.net, same idea, just because we don't have all the detail we need from Shopify to make the entry.
So I like that I'm able to see the sales order detail. Is there a way to filter whenever I'm looking at sales order to see the payment method?
Yeah, yes. So not right now, but this is actually something that we'll have rolled out very shortly. We have payment status. We'll also have payment gateway as a filter here. Now, the only thing is we have about 100 different payment gateways. So the filter list is going to show PayPal, Stripe, and then everything else will get grouped under other. So that is the only thing that we recently made a call on, is to not break out by 100 different possible gateways. So we took PayPal and Stripe as the two biggest, and then everything else gets grouped under other or Shopify payments. But yes, you can still filter them out. So we'll have that rolled out pretty shortly.
And Astrid's asked a question. She's saying under orders, if the payment status is paid, are those paid orders transferred to the payout column?
Yes, so it's different by each channel, and where they get transferred is as an order gets paid. So if we look at these Shopify orders here that are not paid yet, we won't find these in a corresponding payout from Shopify. But if we look at this eBay transaction that was paid, we should actually have in the payouts this corresponding payout that it came across on. So the way eBay and Shopify typically work is your payouts are based on a daily basis. So orders that were placed yesterday will be on a Shopify payout today. Amazon is a little different. So if you have any clients on Amazon, they don't pay you out every day. They normally pay you out every 2 weeks. So you may see the orders in here, and it may be a 2-week cycle before you see a payout for those orders. Even though they're paid Amazon orders, the payout doesn't actually come into here for another 2 weeks. And I will clarify one of the interesting things, because it crosses this 2-week threshold and we're not creating the posting transaction until it comes in. If it does cross a month, so let's say you had transactions that crossed over a month, for this one here is August and September, we will actually split those out. So we will create one entry for the August adjustment, and then we'll create a second entry for the September adjustment. So if there's expenses, adjustments, or sales that cross a month threshold, we'll make sure we at least split those into the correct month, but it's really only going to get posted once the payout comes.
Got it. You know, the more that I dug around in sales orders and in payouts, the more that I was impressed with the amount of detail that's here. And it's nice and condensed. So there's a lot that you can go through. And do you mind taking us through the sales order? Let's go look at one of those again, because I think that now that everybody sees the entire process of what's available, if we go through it just one more time, and we're looking at the sales orders here, this is where we're able to see the actual detail of one particular customer sale.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is one particular customer sale. So if we went into Shopify right now, we would find this exact same sales order number with all of this exact same detail. The idea is it's trying to mirror what you would find inside of Shopify. There's going to be a 1768 as the sale. And then you'll see the breakdown of what was charged, you know, for each line item, the price, the discount, the tax, the total, if there was shipping or discounts on top of that.
So I think my next question is, in the payout, if we wanted to go and look at that sales order number, is that going to be part of the detail that's captured inside the payout?
Yeah, exactly. So if we open up any of these here, we can then see there's 4 different orders, and we can open up the individual order. So they all are linking between each other. So we have a sale for $1.30, which is linked to the payout for $6.66. So there's 4 different orders, and then we could open up each of the individual orders from within here. So it's all trying to give you one place where it's all tied and linked together.
I love that. And then do you mind going over to the bank feeds and then showing us just one more time the app transactions, because that's how it's being actually posted into QuickBooks.
Yeah. So this here. So at the top here, if you're in payouts, you can go over to the transactions. Also show you we have a link here to view the transactions, or it's also in the banking feed. But when you go in to review the transactions, there's a couple things. I mean, you can also filter by specific channel you're looking for. And then you can see the breakdown of what all of these are, all payouts that have come in. And some of them are positive, some of them are negative. And then you can see the breakdown of what it actually is. So this one here, you know, is just a subscription fee. versus this one below is a reserve balance. And this one is an actual payout that included sales, taxes, other fees, reserve balance. And if you want to see the full detail of what this $9.99 is made up of, then you go back to that payout view, which we were just looking at. So the idea is that all of it's, trying to link together. So you get a full picture of, for $9.99 deposit, well, I actually sold $6, and then I had an adjustment for some different reserve balance that came back from another period. So, you're getting $9.99 at the bank, and you're actually only recording $6 in revenue or in sales.
I appreciate the hyperlinks. Like, to me, that's helpful whenever you're trying to troubleshoot. It's also, I started off by not wanting to automate this. I wanted to go through the various pieces and manually look to see what is happening in the sales order and the payout, and then coming over here into the app transactions, and then accepting one of these app transactions, and then going over to the banking and seeing all of the various posting transactions that were created. I think that was really, I think it's a smart way to do it. And once I had wrapped my head around the various details that were available here, I'm a fan. I get it that you're still growing and that the features are evolving, but I think that this is definitely on the right step.
Yeah, and I will highlight here as well, and I think it was maybe quick to see, but you will, I know there were questions around when do you actually see the order. So you will always see if this order was paid yet, you would see a little hyperlink under the 562. So if we go to an older one, you'll see that this one now has view payout. So you'll see that the 210 should have been paid to me. You'll always see whenever there's a hyperlink, it'll basically tell you that now it's ready to be posted or has been posted.
Got it. And Christina's got a question here, and she's saying, how will high volume sales affect the functionality speed of QuickBooks? Great question.
Yeah, it's a really good question. And this is why we went this granular route, because people had issues with running reports. If you were a high volume seller, you had 1,000 orders coming in from Amazon, everything in QuickBooks got slow. So this will not slow down the rest of QuickBooks. This commerce tab is completely separate from if you were looking at, sorry, I just got to move the chat here. If you were looking at the sales tab here, the sales tab, the rest of the reporting, the customer list inside QBO is only going to be based off the aggregate sales receipt that's created. So if I'm looking inside here and I look at all my sales, I don't have 10,000 sales because I had 1,000 orders each month on Amazon. I'm only going to have one for each period, and that's going to be paid out every 2 weeks. So it's consolidating everything so that QuickBooks doesn't get bogged down for high volume sellers.
Thanks. And I have a couple other questions. I also have a comment too, that for my client scenarios, it's bringing in refunds too. And where we were looking at earlier in the bank feeds and the bank transactions and the various types of posted transactions, for my clients that have refunds, they're also seeing a refund transaction in the bank feed whenever we're looking at the details, whenever it's posted.
Like in the actual
bank.
bank.
Sorry. Yep, in the app transactions in the reviewed.
Yeah.
I think I took you to the wrong place. In that reviewed area, whenever I'm going back and I'm looking at the posted transactions, I can see refunds as well, which is helpful. We've got a question from Sandy, and she's saying, does this tie into inventory? And you'd mentioned something earlier. Do you want to go ahead and expand on that now?
Yeah, so I'll kind of expand where we are and then where we're going. So as of now, this does not track inventory because, as I explained, when we look back at the product service list, the items that we create in QBO are these generic items. They're service-based items. So we create an Amazon sales item, shipping, discount, and tax. We don't get into detailed product or SKU level information. And that's where we're going in the future with this, is for people that are looking for inventory management within QBO, we will allow them to then import these, and every single product that exists on a sales order can get created as an inventory item in QBO. But if we look at the products that are on the sales order or this list here, like soccer t-shirt, I won't find an inventory item in QBO for the soccer t-shirt. And when we do get into inventory, in order to track inventory, we would need you to actually create that as an inventory item, which then gets into more of a complete setup. Because when you create inventory items, you need then an initial cost for the inventory. You need to put a starting value. You need to put how much you have. All of those things get the setup time to be much longer. But that is where we're going with it, is that for customers that want that availability, and if you're on Plus and Advanced, then you would have inventory as an option. You can go down that path of actually creating detailed orders. One thing that I'll mention is what that will change as well, is it'll change that all of these sales orders will then create corresponding invoices. So it won't summarize, because if you want inventory tracking, you need to know what product was sold when, deduct the inventory, do the COGS adjustment. And because of all of that, the orders would then create corresponding invoice and payment transactions against them.
And that makes sense. And, you know, it makes me wonder too, whenever I'm thinking about the roadmap, is there a goal to try and have a full solution, kind of like QuickBooks Point of Sale, that it exists for enterprise or desktop users?
Not in the point of sale space, but I think the kind of full solution is to become a central hub where you would do these operational workflows from. So you would manage your inventory, you would track all of it within QuickBooks. But I don't know, you know, if the point of sale space will be where that leads to. Right now, at least the plan is to get into building out inventory features, building out that, you know, there's more robust inventory features within QBO. When we look at, you know, what is available inside of desktop today, that's kind of the main priority.
Well, I've been really, really grateful that you've been willing to answer so many questions, and thanks everybody for asking all of these questions. I was curious to find out what other people are thinking, and you know, as I start to explore QuickBooks Commerce and go through these different functionalities of it, I can see the need for, in some areas, this is going to be the perfect solution. This is going to be all that my clients need. They don't want to have all of the details like what you're saying. In other cases, inventory is coming, and so that'll be the next step that I can't wait to try out.
I think it's exciting. I mean, it's just, yeah, very excited to see where this goes, and where it is. Like you said, Liz, for some clients, it's going to be just right.
It's going to be just right. And the price, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
In fact,
there was like to launch the poll, Liz?
Oh my gosh, yes, please do.
Okay.
Thank you. And what did you just say? You said that, oh, there was a question about pricing. So there was a question that was asking, if you're in Essentials and you want to connect sales channels, what's the limitation on Essentials?
It's up to 3 connections. So you could have 3 Shopify stores or Shopify, Amazon, eBay. And that would be the limitation. The same way that there's like a limitation on number of users or licenses that you can have. The Simple Start is 1, Essentials 3, plus Advanced Unlimited.
Got it. Thank you. All right. So I'll go ahead and count us down. And then Keith, I'll probably take over screen share.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so I'll count us down on the poll. If you would like to learn more, if you'd like to have somebody reach out to you to talk to you more about the QuickBooks Commerce accounting, then you can say yes to that poll at 5, 4, 3, 2, and gone. All right.
And gone.
And gone. So anytime that we are able to talk e-commerce, I get excited about it. That's an area that is always evolving. The more that we learn, the more that we realize that each of our clients are different and they have various needs, especially inside of e-commerce, whether they're going to do gift card refunds and not a traditional refund. I mean, they're always creating really clever ways. So it's great to be able to talk about a tool that is easy to understand. And I also appreciate you going through what all is available to us.
Absolutely. Happy to share.
So anybody who wants to go over and watch some of our prior episodes, you can visit our website, or you can go over to YouTube and you can learn more about episodes that we've had in the past, and you can watch those recordings. In fact, I visited one today. I was asked a question, Heather, about tax 1099. And so I went over to a prior episode and was able to pull out some of the details and share those with some in our community.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Great.
it was great. And upcoming things you want to share?
That'll be fun.
Yeah, and then we also have not only the fireside chat that's coming up, and then ADP that's going to be joining us at the end of November. We also have QuickBooks Connect, and we're going to have a reunion there at QuickBooks Connect of those who joined us with Appy Camp. So I'll be looking forward to that date, and we'll be able to share more.
Absolutely. And thank you to everybody that joined us today. Thank you to all of our friends on Facebook for joining us today.
Yep. Thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.